When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can seem intense. Like breakup R&B intense.
I thought you said you loved the sweater that I got you. If you didn't, you could have told me.
Geico makes it easy. Just go to Geico.com anytime to update or check your policy without all the extra drama.
I even had a gift receipt.
The Columbia Broadcasting System and its affiliate stations coast to coast present
Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue.
No-hitter for Arrieta.
Discussing baseball, good drinks, and food.
So,
Or clear for a minute so I can write down the damn time.
It just got weird.
With Ted Hicks.
Everybody wants to be Bartolo.
Todd Vandenberg.
The handsomest man on the entire goddamn tour.
And Lee Vowell.
Folks, look around. Anyone who's not singing in the choruses is a racist.
Every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on the Happy Hour Network.
And welcome to Baseball Beer and Barbecue with Ted, Todd, and Lee. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Baseball Beer BBQ. We will talk at the top of the hour just with ourselves. So I am Lee, and I'm desperately trying to unmute Todd and Ted. How are you guys? Ready for Game 7?
Tonight's Game 7?
What are we talking about?
We're talking about practice.
Okay, yeah.
Aren't the
Games
Warriors playing
practice?
tonight? Aren't the Warriors or Cavaliers playing tonight?
Hey, I'll say this. Until we move to the great city of Austin, Texas, and I become a Spurs fan, I have no idea what anybody in the NBA is doing except for the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's it. Seriously, I have no. I know. Oh, the Cavs won. The Cavs won again. Oh, cool. LeBron's playing. Kyrie Irving's playing. No idea what anybody else is doing. So because there's too much going on. I mean, there's football still. There's World Series going on, obviously, which we were going to talk about for about 30 minutes. We're not going to keep you guys on the listening to us for more than that. So anyway, I don't know what you guys think, but Todd mentioned pre-pro. He has no earthly idea what's happening except for, well, and I guess should mention the other thing, the election's going on. So it's like there's so many things that are diversifying my attention span at this point, right?
Yeah, right. Ted and I were talking, and you had to throw in your 2 cents as if you have some import on the Jets-Dolphins struggle, and I haven't even thought about it. And Ted said he's thinking about the game in December. Because it's the World Series. Like, nothing.
Oh, man. I'm
else
trying to
matters.
listen to you, but this Dragon's Milk New Holland beer with coconut rum and barrel stout is awesome. Seriously,
really?
It's crazy good.
We need photos. Before you get so drunk you've had the bottle someplace that don't belong.
Lee, are you in the Twilight Zone yet?
No, I'm nowhere near it. But so anyway, what you guys? Of course, we'll be live tweeting drunkenly probably from BBB Twitter account about Game 7. What do you guys think about Game 6? It's funny because the World Series, right? We've had 2 close games and we've had several blowouts, but it still feels like a good World Series, right?
Yeah,
Oh no, go Todd.
Okay, I'll go since I was going to say no. Go ahead, Ted. It's been an amazingly good World Series. I mean, considering there have been 2 close games, everything else has been a blowout, but somehow those blowouts don't feel like it because I've always in all these games I always had the feeling, well, the other team can come back. Doesn't matter. And because you just have that feeling. I was shocked by Game 6. Not that the Cubs won, but how they won. I really did not expect that to happen. And obviously Cleveland didn't either. But I'm super happy there's a Game 7. I have no idea what's going to happen tonight either because we'll get into that, obviously.
You guys want to hear, before we let Ted talk, you want to hear what a little bit of Game 6 highlights sounded like? They sounded like this.
Tomlin has the side. He deals, and another curveball swung on, hit high in the air to deep left field. Crisp will turn and watch it go. Chris Bryant hits one a mile up into the bleachers in left, and the Cubs have a 1-0 lead. And the pitch and a swing and a fly ball into right center field, and it's going to drop. It drops between the two outfielders. 1 run home. Relay to the plate and a collision at the plate as Zobrist scores. Russell comes all the way around to third as a fly ball off the end of the bat that absolutely had to be caught. Balls in between Naquin and Chisenhall, and the Cubs have a 3-0 lead. Russell waiting, drove in 95 during the regular season. The 2-0, a swing and a high fly ball. This one's hit a long way, left center field. That's a grand slam. Russell blows it open. He's got 6 RBIs. And it's 7-0 Cubs here in the third.
That's what it sounded like. So, Ted, I interrupted you. What are your thoughts?
Those highlights, was that from last night? Because I was
actually 1908. 1908.
I was last night while you guys were watching the game, all caught up in the Cubs and the Indians, and I was at Barclays Center watching the Tampa Bay Lightning beat the brakes off the New York Islanders. And I can tell you, not a single soul in the crowd was watching. Everyone was staring at their mobile devices.
Wow. Interesting.
It's the World Series, baby. Everyone's interested, loving it. I wish I had said this before. At the start of the World Series, I wanted to tell you guys, Indians in 7. But now I sound like a homer by saying, the Indians are going to win in 7. But I will be wearing my official Jim Thome jersey tonight, watching the game in the family room. Go Indians. Go Tribe.
I actually cut my 2 hats in half. So half of my hat is the Smokies, and the other half is the C for Cleveland. So I've got it covered both ways. And whichever team wins, I'll just turn my head and be like, "Oh, it's for this team. No, it's for this team." No, that's not true.
I actually had the Cubs in 6, although we never even discussed our picks, so obviously I was way off.
Why would we?
Briefly, before we move on and actually talk about the stuff that's fun, like the game, these are things that had or had not happened since the Indians won. These are things that have been invented after the Indians won their last World Series. Hairspray, the Zamboni, carbon-14 dating, spray paint, WD-40, cat litter. Hard to believe that wasn't around. Prince Charles, that really old guy who has been waiting to be king forever, he wasn't even born yet. Richard Strauss, the composer, he died after Cleveland won the World Series. There was no NATO. There was no People's Republic of China. And the 6 surviving Civil War veterans, like the American Civil War veterans, they met the year after Cleveland won the World Series. And as far as the Cubs, obviously a lot of things, but Teddy Roosevelt was the incumbent in the White House, talking about elections. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid were still alive. We did not have things like zippers or stainless steel or crossword puzzles. Joseph McCarthy, talk about a name from the past, he'd not been born yet. Panama was not a country yet. And neither the North nor the South Pole.
In my opinion.
It shouldn't be. It should be a protectorate of Oak Ridge. And neither the North nor the South Pole had been reached by Western civilization and expeditions. So that's how freaking long it's been since those 2 teams have won. So, I mean, going into it, I've been kind of like 60-40 because I've got relatives in Chicago. I would rather see Chicago win. But how is it not an awesome story if Cleveland wins too? So either way, doesn't the public win with this World Series? I mean, unless obviously you're a true fan of either team. Just what a fantastic story this series is.
Here's one piece of trivia that has nothing to do with baseball. So Bolivar, Tennessee, which is near Memphis. Guess who it's named after? Bolivar, Tennessee, near Memphis.
Bolivar Trask?
Ted wins the internet. Shut the show down.
God, it's named after Simone Bolivar. What the hell is up with that? Seriously, like I had to look it up, and I was like, "That's not real," and it is real. It's like, who the hell lives in Bolivar, Memphis, and knows any or near Memphis that knows anything about Simone Bolivar? So the rest of the show is about South American unification. So let's talk about that. Anyway, I'm joking. No, I'm serious. There's a lot of Hispanic players. So
I'm sorry, I got to jump in, but
Simone Bolivar, please.
Isn't it great that we can have a show where we can't rail against the NFL for being, for showing these crappy games and shoving London and Thursday Night Football down our throats? Isn't it great not to have a show?
It's fantastic that they don't call, pass interference when you're blocking the defensive back 6 yards down the field. It's fantastic that's not part of that.
What were you saying?
I have no idea. But now let's just talk about the NFL. No, seriously. So it's interesting. You got Corey Kluber on the mound. Corey Kluber, who is, he's this year's Madison Bumgarner phenomenal. He's lost a game, though, in this postseason, but he's still 4-1, .89 ERA, 5 starts, 16 consecutive scoreless innings against Boston and then Toronto. Against Kyle Hendricks, who's a guy, you don't think of as like, oh, Corey Kluber's won a Cy Young. Is he an all-time great? No, but he's a great pitcher right now, and he won't probably make the Hall of Fame because he kind of like Arrieta, started a little bit late. But Hendricks has been phenomenal this year. So, I guess if I had my preference, it'd be kind of like John Lester versus Kluber. But, of course, Lester may pitch, Arrieta may pitch. That's not off the board. What do you guys think about the pitching matchup going into Game 7?
We don't think anything.
I can't wait. I can't wait for the middle relief. That's what Todd and I are thinking about. We're not thinking about the first 5 or 6 innings. What's going to happen during middle relief? And are we going to see Chapman again? What inning are we going to see Chapman?
First, he's starting the game.
5 or 6 innings. Yeah, it's like middle relief is 4th inning these days, man.
True.
What are you talking about? 5 or 6?
Because Andrew Miller comes in like the 6th inning now, right?
5th inning. He came in the 5th inning the other day.
And just pitches the entire game.
Well, seriously, if Seaver gets in trouble, we'll see Miller in the 3rd.
Early. Oh, yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
He's got all winter to rest up. That's what it boils down to is like how long will Kluber be able to hang in there against the Cubs? I mean, looking at his past performance, he should be fine for 5 innings, right? He hasn't shown any reason to have any doubt in him. It's just that here he is again on short rest again, but he's hardly the only guy who's done that. It's been a while since someone's done that, but it's been done. And especially, and it was done back when guys were in 4-man rotations, so much bigger workloads. So I don't see any reason to think that Kluber can't handle it. It's just a matter if the Cubs bats are hot enough that they're able to figure him out. And yeah, as far as Hendricks is, this season he probably is the best pitcher on the Cubs staff. And the one thing that worries me about Hendricks as far as from the Cubs standpoint, his ERA is zips. The batting average is .375, so it's not like they're not hitting him.
Right.
He's given up 6 hits in 4 1/3, so they're getting to him, just not at the right time. And that can change really, really quickly. So, going into it, Kluber obviously has shown to be the better pitcher in this series and in the postseason, really overall. And they certainly have the bullpen. But like you said, everybody's in the bullpen at this point.
Right.
For both teams. The only guy we're not going to see is Arrieta. Other than that, anybody.
Actually, I have heard that he's not off the. There's a possibility, even though he threw 102 pitches last night, Madden said there's a possibility he could get an out or two.
Well, for an out, I could see that. But what do you think of there've been a lot of scuttlebutt that, and this is for both of you gentlemen, of course, the scuttlebutt out there or the talk that that Madden had lost faith in the rest of his bullpen. Do you really think that's true? Because I think
the scuttlebutt is poppycock. Actually, it's interesting that we talk about the bullpens because just a factoid. We should have a sound for that on the show. Anyway, the teams so far in this World Series, whoever leads entering the sixth inning, other than Game 3, which was scoreless, those teams win. So whoever enters the sixth inning, those teams are 5-0. Indians 7-0 this postseason when entering the sixth inning overall. Cubs are 7-1. So basically, whoever wins the early part of this game seems like they're going to win the game. So really, it's the bullpens. Obviously, it's a big deal, but it seems like once you get to the bullpens, the game's over, no matter which team you're facing. So if Kluber gets off to a bad start, or if Hendricks gets off to a bad start, that literally could be the game, which is interesting. Right. Another little factoid, the Cubs are the 9th team to force a Game 7 after trailing 3-1 in the best-of-7 World Series. Guess how many of those 8 teams previously won the World Series?
5.
Yep, you got it, 5, including the last 2, 79 Pirates, 85 Royals. So it's been a while. But whoever, if a team comes back, it happens, 3-1, and actually barely over 50%, but still, chances are, if you come back from 3-1, you end up winning the World Series. So that gives the Cubs hope. Not that they're not hopeless anyway, obviously, but that gives them hope going into this game, right?
Yeah. Well, like both managers have said, with everything that's happened up until now, it's one game. So whoever's been hit and blah blah blah. I mean, obviously, we're not going to see Grimm pitch or Tomlin, but other than that, it's all hands on deck for both teams.
Aren't they? You're hoping Tomlin.
Unless he comes back and pitches like he did in the first game. Yeah, Tomlin's not going to show up, obviously. And that play in the outfield, wow. I mean, obviously there's been a lot of talk about it, but how do you let that happen in a World Series?
You don't.
Man alive.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's you don't give up a grand slam, you don't give up a home run to Bryant, but that play changes a lot of things. You hit on a good point there.
That play killed him. I mean, without that play, it's like you're not in position. None of the rest of it happens. I mean, without that play, I mean, you're still down by 1 because of Bryant, but that play absolutely killed him. I'm not sure. And why was that a hit?
Nobody touched it, I guess. I mean, nobody. I don't know why it was a hit.
Ordinary effort. Ordinary effort, right? That's the definition.
Well, yeah, but whoever is making that judgment obviously is the same people who make the college football playoff judgment, and they have Washington number 5 and Texas A&M number 4. So, it's one of those. Coming.
And you're right. That's ridiculous.
That's our show. Thanks for. No, I'm just kidding. So, too mad to think of anything else. But yeah. But getting back to the umpiring a little bit, not because that play had anything to do with umpiring, but the umpiring last night was okay. Of course, it was such a blowout, but the umpiring itself, balls and strikes, it's been really weird going into Game 7. The whole series, really all playoffs, really, but the whole series has been kind of weird, right?
What do you think about the umpiring, Ted? Seriously.
It's kind of sucky. And
I would take the kinda off.
It's a family show, so we say kinda instead of just, it was god awful. But
you can say much worse things. This is not a family show.
I mean, it kind of is, isn't it?
Wait. Families besides ours are sitting around listening to this fucking show.
You can't say kinda on a family show, but you can say sucky. What? Man, yeah, it's awful, and it's been on both sides.
Yes.
I mean, it hasn't gone, oh, wow, they're favoring one team or the other. They're just favoring, God, I don't know what the hell they're doing. I mean, are they doing endorsements for lens crafters or something? I mean, pitches that are, I mean, they're painting the corners, but they're inside the frame. And they're calling those balls, and there have been pitches. I mean, we've seen them. There's been pitches that are 3 inches outside, and they're strikes. And who knows when it's going to happen? I mean, there's no rhyme or reason. High pitches are strikes, and pitches 3 inches outside are strikes, and then pitches that are well inside are ball. It's amazing either team has had these offensive shows with this kind of strike zone. I mean, we've seen We've seen We've seen hitters heading down to first on ball 4, and then they get called back. So no, that was a ball, and they know. I'm sorry, that was a strike, and they struck out, and they know it was a ball because it was so far off, and it's happened to both teams. It's ridiculous.
So yeah, Mark Simon of ESPN said the two most notable things to be said on Game 7 starters during the regular season. Hendricks got more, quote, extra called strikes, unquote, than any other pitcher in Major League Baseball. He got 65 more called strikes than what the average pitcher would have gotten on the same collection of pitches. Almost all of Hendricks' extra strikes, this is important, came from low pitches. Once Kluber and Perez, of course, became a regular battery, Kluber began getting a lot of quote-unquote extra strikes. In fact, after the All-Star break, he led AL pitchers in called strike rate above average. So if the strike zone is expanded at all a little bit in this game, this theoretically could be a 1-0, which would be fantastic if it was a 1-0. I mean, Jack Morris is pitching. He comes in relief. Actually, by the way, Ferguson Jenkins is available for both teams in this game. But anyway, it'd be fantastic if it was a 2-1, 1-0 game instead of a 7-1. This isn't the greatest World Series ever, but it's a good World Series, and if it finished with 2-1, 1-0, I mean, that would be fantastic for baseball, right? Because there's a ton of people tuning in who don't normally tune in to baseball, I would assume, for Game 7.
Yeah, it's the casual fans that are tuning in because, they're watching TV, they're listening to their phones, and everyone's saying, World Series, it's going to be a great classic game, and history is going to be made, and they're like, oh, I want to be a part of it. And I guess nowadays that's what the sports leagues are trying to do. They're trying to get as many casual fans as they can possibly get. I mean, who's going up against Major League Baseball tonight? No one, right?
Late Night Parent.
The other juggernaut. The other juggernaut.
To depress the ratings by about 30 points.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah.
Actually, no, that's a great point because I thought the same thing. I thought, if you're going to have Game 7, it's a Wednesday night. I was thinking about this at work while I should have been working, and I was thinking Game 7 Wednesday night. I was thinking, but I thought the same thing. Who's watching anything on Wednesday night? There's no football. I mean, the NBA still it's nascent and part of the season. It's like this is almost the perfect day to have baseball, right? Because you don't have a Tuesday or Thursday night TV. You have Wednesday night TV, which is one of the lower rated TV nights.
Oh, I get it. So you don't watch any given Wednesday? Every Wednesday, Bill Simmons on HBO? No, you probably don't watch it because HBO costs $17 a month.
Actually, it's because I have the HBO Go app.
Oh, okay.
So I never watch anything. Sorry to sound like you're walking away. No, I'm sorry to... First of all, yeah, I don't watch anything live on HBO. I just watch it on the app.
Right. I'm okay. I mean, I was waiting for you to say, oh, Ted, and I listened to your show on tape delay. Do they even do tape delay anymore? So that's just during the Olympics. But no, it's going. I mean, did you hear? I think it was Sunday night. How either Sunday or Monday, how they destroyed the NFL.
Yeah.
The World Series just destroyed it, and that's a whole different conversation for a Saturday of how we're going to fix the NFL ratings because it's an utter mess.
Yeah, I mean, one way you could fix those ratings, I know we're going to get into it on Saturday, is maybe if you're the Giants kicker and there's a domestic violence issue, don't wait 5 days to release them. It's obvious there's been some domestic violence. Just go ahead and do it because you're losing a lot of female fans.
Lee, how about you knew about this in 2015?
Exactly.
His contract expired. You re-signed him.
Right.
I mean,
yep.
Oh, my God. This is not World Series related. I got to tell you how disappointed I am with this story that came out yesterday that broke Jerry's Familia. La Familia.
Yeah.
Domestic violence. So the same things that I said against Chapman, how I didn't like him on the Yankees, I got to say the same things for the Mets. I mean, it's just fun. Come on. I'm just sick to my stomach of this. These guys got to know better. And the fact that he recorded an anti-domestic violence message, PSA. What are you thinking of?
Well, all you have to do is read a statement. You don't have to actually think about it, let alone believe in it. So,
I'm done.
So, is he? I sort of know what was he. Is it? I'm trying to think how to say this without coming across bad. Because I mean, usually when there's domestic violence, unfortunately, it's true. But as far as the facts, is it he actually did it, or is it just somebody saying? I haven't looked into it, to be honest.
As for right now, the facts that I know, he was charged. Someone had a scratch across their chest. They're not saying that it was his wife that had the scratch across her chest, but someone that he was dealing with either had a scratch on their face and across their chest. So I don't know. It's just you can't put yourself in that situation. No. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, even if he didn't do it, he probably still put himself in a position where he's making millions of dollars. You have to be a little bit more aware of your situation. And I'm sorry, if you're a public figure, which professional athletes are and a lot of other people, and you put yourself in a position where there's a domestic violence possibility, then you probably have made a bad choice to get to that situation in the first place. I'm sorry, you got to be more aware of everything that's going on around you. And you have to you should be a better person than that. I'm sorry. It's just like everybody should, obviously nobody should ever hit. I don't care if it's man, woman. Nobody should hit anybody else as far as I'm concerned. But I'm a schlub, but and I've never hit anybody in my life. But it's like if I'm a public figure, if I'm a sports figure, I'm probably thinking, what are my actions going to cause in 2 seconds?
Todd,
you should be aware of that.
Todd, whatever happened to just walking away?
Well, what happened to
or
it
never
is,
being in that situation anyway.
Right. Here's what you need to remember. I mean, he obviously is following Mr. Trump's thing about back in the old days. This is how we handled situations, and even though he's not a Mexican, he is Dominican, and like his brethren in Mexico, he's bringing crime to the United States.
Wait, Trump is Dominican?
Trump is Dominican, and he's bringing crime to the United States. That's absolutely true.
I knew it. That's why he hates Mexicans. Totally makes sense.
Actually, if he was Dominican, he'd have a better arm.
He said they're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime. Some of them are good, but
some he assumes. Some he
assumes are good.
Well,
Fernando,
he was good. Pays him under the table.
Fernando was good. Yeah, exactly.
Venezuela?
I'm assuming Trump's probably a Yankees fan, so he probably doesn't care about Fernando.
Of course.
So, yeah.
Of course he is.
Of course.
Hey, was there ever a question? I just want to switch gears for a second.
Please.
Remember all those years with Joe Torre, and he was using Mariano in the 8th inning? No one had a problem with that back then, right? What about the times when he came in the late 7th inning, like during their heyday, like 96 through 2000?
Yeah,
no one had an issue with that.
He couldn't carry John Wetland's jockstrap.
He was too tired because he came in too early.
Why
That's
are
why he couldn't carry his jockstrap.
Why are so many people questioning online? Why are so many people being Monday morning quarterbacks? And I know it's the wrong sport, but about Madden using Chapman. Who cares?
Two people care about that. Two people that I've seen care the most about not using a reliever more than 1 inning. Mike Marshall and Goose Gossage. I've seen both of them. I'm totally
oh, God.
Don't forget Suter. Suter's incensed about it too.
Yeah, I know. It is one of those things where it's like, have these guys failed when they've come into a game? Have they come into a game in the 7th or 8th inning and then blown a lead? I don't think any of them have they? Kenley Jansen surely did. Chapman hasn't. So who cares? It's the end of the season. You got 4 months to rest before spring training. Just who cares?
Yeah, people. It's people who aren't. Again, we're talking about the elections. We're talking about people who don't think clearly. I mean, what is the purpose of a relief pitcher? He comes in key moments to keep the other team from scoring. That was a key moment. That's why he brought him in then.
Right.
What is he supposed to do? Wait until all hell blows loose and this? Well, he's a closer. I got to wait to the ninth. I know we'll probably be down by 2 by then because I'm just going to let everything blow to hell. But the book says, it's like, come on, think for yourselves, you stupid SOBs.
And let's be honest, isn't Andrew Miller really the closer on the Indians, but they use him earlier in games in situations where the other team has a better chance of scoring? He's really the closer. They bring him in early. The guy should be the closer. He's better than the closers they have, even though the closers they have are really good. And they have multiple closers. It's just Francona's using him early.
Yes, he's the guy he's the shutdown guy. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and
he's really getting the save. He's not pitching the 9th inning.
Right. And there's been a little bit of talking about, well, is this a model for going forward? It's like, yeah, if you can assemble a bullpen full of absolute stud monsters, it's a model for going forward. But there's not a lot of pitchers out there like this. And we'll talk more about it Saturday for sure, because there are things that I think every team can do, looking at what is going on with both Chicago and Cleveland to some extent. But it doesn't really pertain to the World Series, so
in
we'll
Kansas City.
Saturday.
Kansas City last year, as far as the bullpen.
Right.
So maybe
and
it is.
And the Yankees until they traded Miller and Chapman. Man.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Do you remember that during the season? I know you guys don't see too much New York baseball, but Betances, Miller, and Chapman.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was like, really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I'll throw it out to you guys now. Think of because what I'm thinking is like, why don't they go back to a 4-man rotation? I mean, if you're going to bring in your relief pitchers, and obviously everybody can't do it, but if you can bring in a relief pitcher in the 6th, because you've got guys like that, why are you wasting every 5th start on your 5th best pitcher?
Because too many young guys get injured.
Rotation.
So there's too many innings limits on young pitchers. That's exactly why they don't do it. Plus, there's too much money involved in pitching, starting pitching especially, that they don't want to risk them getting hurt because they feel like they're over. I mean, I agree with you, Todd, but I know that's why they're never going to change it. In fact, it's probably going to go to the opposite. They're still going to let's have 6-man rotations and then just
it could go
pitch
that way.
them 5 innings. Yeah.
Oh, there was a couple of times over the last 2 seasons, that the Mets had 6-man rotations.
Right.
In particular, for one Matthew Harvey, to save him from himself, which I thought with everyone in New York and, most of the sports fans here thought was utterly ridiculous.
Yeah. The Dodgers did it a couple of times this year after Koufax came back. They used a bunch of young starters. That's right. Koufax came back and he pitched. Of course, I mean Kershaw. But Koufax came back and he pitched. But they did it later in the season after literally Kershaw came back, and they had a bunch of young guys who they didn't want to overpitch, including Urias, who I think is going to be a good pitcher, and I think probably he was tired at the end of the season and showed up in the postseason. But they did it too, just to conserve the one guy. It wasn't even the staff overall. It was just like, Harvey or Kershaw or whoever, But it was, they did it intentionally. Maybe you can do it later in the season, but I can't, doing it over the entire season, that seems like a stretch to me anyway, but I can see it happening.
I don't know.
Back to the World Series. Who do we think is going to be the MVP?
I think it depends
Andrew Miller.
Depends on tonight,
Yeah, I think it all depends on tonight because you have, obviously, It's 3 versus 3, and you've got some players who have shown up huge in games their teams have won, Addison Russell, and you have, players that have shown up on the opposite side. So I think a lot of it comes down to, for instance, Carlos Santana and the 3 Cleveland wins has reached base several times, and the losses he doesn't reach base. But if he has a huge game tonight, there's a chance he could win the MVP. I think it all comes down to tonight.
Lee
will win the MVP. Yes, that's true.
Is that the Carlos Santana?
It is. Yeah, Carlos Santana.
Wasn't that the dumbest thing you've ever heard?
No, we talked about how he drove in Dave Matthews, and then Coco Crisp also drove in an aged, admittedly, Count Chocula, but still a lot of speed for an older vampire. I mean, it's just amazing that the players are involved in this World Series.
If Cleveland wins tonight, and if assuming Kluber pitches well, it's Kluber, easy.
Hold on, I got to say, do you see how quickly Todd tried to bring us? Todd's like, this is bullshit. I got to get back to reality. People are listening to this show.
No, it's because we're 5 minutes over your timeline, and I want to make sure we finish with something that I know we want to talk about.
No, we're going to the 7th, and actually once the game starts, we're going to start calling it. Like there's a ball.
All right, I'm down. I got nothing to do. I'm just sitting here picking my nose.
Literally breaking the law by doing it. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry, Todd. Go ahead. Who wins the MVP? I'll say it depends on who wins tonight, but I can definitely see Chris Bryant. No, because if it were a 6-game series, I might say, oh, this guy did well. But I think because of the way the series has played out, 2 really unevenly played games, except for 2 games, I can see Chris Bryant, because of the home runs in the last 2 games, Chris Bryant winning the MVP. So, I'm going to say that the Cubs win tonight, even though it's against Kluber. No, actually, I reverse that. See, I don't even know. I'm going to say the Indians win tonight. I'm going to say Kluber wins and he wins the MVP because he would be the first guy since what? Is it Mickey Lolich? Correct me if I'm wrong. Yep. To win 3 games in the World Series. Yep. So Corey Kluber.
Yeah, if Kluber pitches well and they win, it's Kluber. If he falters and Miller comes in, it's Miller.
It's Miller time. Yep.
Yeah. And if the Cubs win, I think Rizzo obviously could not go like 0 for 4, 0 for 5, but if the Cubs win, it's Rizzo. I mean, I think he's driving Zobrist has been on more, but Rizzo's scored the runs. He's driven in the runs. He's been there, and he's pretty much been there for most of the games, unlike some of the guys who. Like Russell's, that was a phenomenal game, 6 ribbies, but he has 8 for the series. So,
right.
And I'm with you. I have no idea what's going to happen in this game. I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be a tight game. I hope it is, like you were saying, like a 2-1 game, and extra innings would be awesome. Not too many extra innings because people got to go to work in the morning. But we will see. We will see what happens. And then watch it something ridiculous like Napoli goes off and hits 3 home runs, and then all of a sudden he's the World Series MVP.
Yeah,
so
could be.
And if he did, he should be.
If the Cubs do win, Major League Baseball, Cooperstown needs to start preparing the bust for Theo Epstein because he will go down as a genius.
I think even if they don't win, they need to.
Yeah, he's done everything that he said he was going to do.
And my favorite thing is that Red Sox fans still, Theo, he wasn't. They don't like Theo Epstein. It's like he won you World Series. He went to the Cubs and would have won a World Series. I'm sorry, you're wrong.
He's the smartest guy in the room. Give it up, okay?
Absolutely. And if Cleveland wins, obviously we know Francona's getting a bust.
Oh yeah.
I mean, good Lord.
Yeah, he gets
So I got this thing to say about. So I work with my supervisor is a guy who played baseball and coaches traveling team, and he knows everybody in Major League Baseball basically, and he knows Terry Francona. And a couple of years ago, he was talking to Terry Francona about. This was when Francona, I guess a few years ago after he got fired. And he was saying, what's life like as a major league manager? And he was like, Red Sox fans are cool. He's like, and, he's managed several places. You know who the fans are that are the worst fans?
Boston.
Philadelphia fans are the worst. He said it's not even close. He's like, if you're winning or you're losing, they're just jerks. It's like Philadelphia fans are the worst. So, and that's straight from Terry Francona via a guy who's really honest about what he would say. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Anyway, a guy who won't win the MVP, of course, is Jalen Hurd. But I'm sorry, Ted, what were you going to say?
Why don't you ever get that guy on with us?
I should. I don't. It's interesting. I mean, he'd have a lot of great stories. I mean, he does. He's such a humble guy. I don't know if he would be on him. He knows tons of people, but I think it might be more than he knows tons of people. And he's coached players who are minor league baseball and Major League Baseball, but I don't think he feels like he's important enough to. But he has great stories, honestly. So might be worth having him on. He pitched college baseball. He was a very successful college baseball pitcher until he got hurt. So it might be interesting.
Hey, Lee.
Yes.
He doesn't think he's important enough to be on our show. Really?
Come on.
Yeah, he's a humble guy. I'm seriously, he's a humble guy. He's a humble guy.
I get that, but I mean, it's our show. It's not like he's going on Mike and Mike.
I'll say this: it's just Todd, and his first name's Jonathan. I'll say this: it makes him great as a supervisor because we've all probably worked for supervisors who are like, "Well, it's my way or the highway," and I know everything. And it's like Jonathan. He probably does know everything, and if he were running everything, things would probably run even better. But he's understands he's just like us, even though he's done it for 23 years, and that he talks to us like we're human beings. So, and like he's part of the team, and I think that helps that he grew up in baseball. And this is not about Jonathan; it is about Jonathan, but it's not. If you're a baseball fan, you grew up playing baseball, being a fan of baseball. I think one thing that is great about baseball, and I guess we'll on the show with this, is not necessarily that, this guy has filthy stuff, you're kind of born this way, and you kind of are. But baseball teaches you not only that you're a member of the team, but I think it teaches you for the most part to want to be successful as a team and be a part, an individual of the team, right? That's the thing I love most about baseball. It's not like I'm the star of the team. Mike Trout wants to be part of a successful team, and he wants to be a cog in a successful team. He doesn't want to be the guy that stands out necessarily. He wants to be part of a team that wins. And I think that's one thing that baseball teaches, whereas some other sports don't. Football players seem to be pretty full of themselves. NBA basketball players is about individualism, but hockey to a degree is a lot like baseball. But I think the great thing I love about baseball is the communism, for lack of a better term, of what it is. Oh, somebody's playing I don't know what that is, but I don't know what you guys think. That's probably the reason I love baseball the most, is just how much of a team sport, and you can be the greatest player on earth, and what's going to happen? They'll walk you, and your team will lose. And I think that's the thing I love about baseball, is just that it's such a team sport.
Ted, isn't it funny that Lee feels that way about baseball, but when it comes to the Happy Hour Network, not so much, man. Not so much. Gotta be the star. Gotta be out.
So that's our show, and I appreciate everybody for listening. And personally, I'm glad you listened because I make a little bit of money off this. No, I don't make any money. Anyway, that's our show. Enjoy Game 7.
Russell Waiting drove in 95 during the regular season. The 2-0, a swing and a high fly ball. This one's hit a long way. Left center field. That's a grand slam. Russell blows it open. He's got 6 RBIs. And it's 7-0 Cubs here in the third.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be confusing. Like Swedish techno confusing.
Bark, bark, meow, meow. Dance with me, purple cow. Bark, bark, meow, meow. Ooh, you lovely cow.
Geico makes it easy. With 24/7 access, all you have to do is go to Geico.com and you could save money on car insurance. It just makes sense. Unlike,
Dance with me, purple cow. I like your move.